Grand Rising Heartbeats and Omni family, right? And at this point, I guess I should be saying good day, possibly good evening or good night, because you know we have our Omni family is around the world, and there's different times. So wherever you may be, I hope all is well with you, and I'm just going to jump right into it, okay? So I woke up this morning to a post that was shared by my daughter, Miss Lovely Lolisa Levitt, okay? And the post that she shared, I wrote it down because I didn't want to get it wrong because it is so true. So I'm going to read the post. The post says, trauma makes you tolerate people who treat you poorly because you are afraid of losing them. Healing makes you realize that you should be afraid of losing yourself by trying to please everyone. So I'm going to read it again, okay? Because it's talking about trauma and it's talking about healing, okay? So it says, trauma makes you tolerate people who treat you poorly because you are afraid of losing them. Healing makes you realize that you should be, okay, let me start over. Healing makes you realize that you should be afraid of losing yourself by trying to please everyone. Okay. So, family, I hope that sink in, right? When you lose a person who you feel is treating you poorly, you're not just losing that person, you're also losing heartbreak, you're losing sleepless nights, you're losing confusion, you're losing arguments. Okay, and in my opinion, yeah, I'm okay with losing that, right? You don't want to have sleepless nights and confusion and walking on eggshells. You don't need that, right? So let it go so that you can grow and transform into a better and healthier version of yourself, right? Some of you may have received invites to join our other page. It's called Creatrix. And on that page, um, it's more focused on doing just that, right? Becoming a better, healthier version of yourself. So on March 11th, I shared a post, and if you did your homework from that post, it was asking you to create a list of things that you would like to change in your life, right? That list are things that you would like, you may have been thinking it, may have been planning it. These are things that you would like to see in your 3D reality, right? And some of these things would include things like thought processes and perceptions, behaviors, and habits, right? And the thing I want to remind you of, it is things that you have control over. And we all know that we do not have control over other people, right? You can't change other people unless they are wanting to and willing to. They have to be willing to put in the work, right, for these changes that we're talking about. So if you have your list together and you need assistance, okay, remember you can always reach out to me at creatrix@gmail.com, okay? And Creatrix is spelled CRE, and then the number 8, TRICS. Okay? And I'm sure you can find it on one of the posts if you didn't catch it or if I spelled it wrong. But it's creatrix@gmail.com. Reach out if you need assistance with getting through some of those things on your list. So, the one good thing about life, and some of us don't like it, but the good thing about life is that the only thing constant is change, right? Things are always changing. Nothing remains the same forever. And a lot of us is not good with change because we focus too much on what we're losing instead of what we could possibly gain, right? So you have to make space for new things in your life, and so it's necessary to declutter. And you want to start with the things that is not being that is not productive to your growth, right? So one of the hardest things um, to go through when change come about is relationships, right? Doesn't matter if it's a work relationship, a romantic relationship, any kind of shit that you may have with another individual. When change come about, it is one of the most trying things to navigate through, right? So I'm here today to talk about relationships, okay? And I wrote a few things down, right? Because it's so important. We've all, a lot of us have seen, well, this week it was a very tragic situation all over WFTV News, uh, you know, and I don't know enough to speak on the situation, so I'm just gonna talk from a general overview about relationships and emotions and you know yeah uh, I'm gonna focus too because I can speak from this space. um, let's focus on romantic relationships, right? uh, Romantic relationship. Okay, we all know if you've been blessed to be in a healthy, loving, romantic relationship, we know the highs that we can get from being around that person. It's like nothing else exists. It's roses and butterflies and everything is beautiful. When it's a healthy relationship and you know the love is being reciprocated, but then there's the flip side of that when you know uh, you're being loved poorly, and or for whatever reason the honeymoon stage is over, real life settled in, and now everything just seemed chaotic, right? So when the honeymoon stage is over and now you have to work through things that weren't talked about when everything was good, you may find you're not as compatible. You're not as compatible as you thought you were. And so now you have a choice to make. You have to Okay, am I and my special person going to do what we need to do to make this ship sail, or are we going to let it sink? Okay. So if you are going to do whatever it takes to make sure that ship keeps sailing, right? It stays afloat. It's gonna have to take both parties involved to want that, and it has to be done in a way that's not forced, because if someone's doing a lot of forcing, then it may be met with resistance. So I like the way someone put it to me before, um, by saying, let's let this relationship evolve organically. I love that word, organically, right? So when it's done that way and both parties involved are meeting and talking and working things out in a loving way, it's the most beautiful thing ever. But when there's this tug of war and a lot of fussing and fighting, poor communication, or, it just gets exhausting. And at that point, sometimes it's better to just let it go, because if you are not in control of your emotions when a relationship is no longer in the honeymoon stage, right? When you're now facing difficult situations or topics, um, if you're not in control of your emotions, things can go bad really fast, right? And people can lose their life, people can lose their freedom. And in my opinion, before it gets to that stage where you're losing yourself, you're losing your freedom, you're ending up in jail or the hospital, hopefully you get out of that situation uh, before your loved ones have to bury you, right? So, whew, in my opinion, emotional intelligence is something that is so important, people, right? You have to stay in control of your emotions. You cannot react and act out because you feel disrespected or you don't like how a person says something when you was expecting them to say it in a different way, right? Because you can't control people. You only can control yourself, which means control your emotions. Think before you speak, right? All right. I saw on the news the other day that they are beginning to teach classes in elementary school, um, focused on emotional intelligence and how to control your anger, your sadness, right? So I think that's really important, that little Johnny and little Jane is learning that when you get upset, it is better to take a time out, take a walk, learn to deep breathe, count to 10, woosah, whatever you need to do, instead of kicking, biting, screaming, or pushing somebody off the swing because you feel like they've been on it too long. So uh, these are good techniques that they're teaching the young kids before they grow up to be adults that don't know how to control themselves, right? They so now, because wifey not picking up the phone, or she smiled a little too much at strangers. Now you can, you can take a pause before you knock wifey head off her shoulders. Before you want to get violent, you take a breather and you learn to talk to wifey or husband, right? And see what's going on, because a lot of times our perceptions are all screwed up because of past traumas, right? So before you jump to a conclusion, it is better to go have a conversation with your people, right? And this works in all relationships, not just romantic ones. Okay. Instead of wanting to go home and you know get all up in your people face, how about plan a nice dinner and have a conversation and just be like, yo, baby, so I noticed A, B, C, and D. What's going on with that? You don't have to be about it all the time, all right? So, yeah, just check yourself a little bit before you go and do something in the moment you're heated that you regret for the rest of your life. Okay? So, if you have your list together and you need my assistance or want my assistance, you can reach out to me. It doesn't cost anything for you to reach out and say, hey, Laura or Creatrix, however you want to address me, one of those two ways will work. I have this on my list. Any suggestion, tips, or anything you can give me to assist me on my journey, I am more than willing. I'm more than happy to help you any way that I can. Let me see if there's anything else that I wanted to mention. Yeah. So that's about it. Just I'm gonna update this post to include the number that I saw on WFTV. If you are in a domestic violence situation, there's resources that can assist you with getting out of that. Family, I know that when you are deeply in love with someone and it's not being reciprocated, or it's just not, you can't come to terms, you can't come to a peaceful solution, it's better to let that thing go. It's better to let that person go, okay? Because you don't want to find yourself in a place that you can't come back from, okay? So please feel free to reach out to me. I'm here for that. And, parents, if your kids' school haven't implemented classes related to emotional intelligence, maybe you should get in touch with someone to see if that's something that can become part of your kids' school, right? Because healthy-minded kids have a better chance of growing up to be healthy-minded adults. And our society right now, I'm really concerned. I'm really concerned. And that brings me to the point of parents, parenting. If the school isn't doing it, then, it's our responsibility anyway, right? To teach our kids emotional intelligence. But some parents don't have emotional intelligence. So our kids look at how we act and then they take that out into the world and spread it around. So we have to be careful. We have to keep our emotions in check. Our kids look at us sometimes like, did mama just say and do that? So we have to woo-saw sometimes, right? So I'm also here. If you have kids that, hey, reach out to me and be like, hey, can you have a conversation with my son and my daughter? Um, I'm just going to let you know, though, I don't tolerate disrespect from my own children. So I'm not going to do it from yours. I'm not going to tolerate it from your kids, right? But if you have a child that is that could be respectful enough to listen, even if they don't agree. But if they would listen, and you would like to contact me for that, I'm here for that too. To just let them know, like, there's other options, right? You don't have to take that road that could lead you to trouble. So I will leave all my contact information where you can reach out to me. And everyone, stay safe, stay in that energy of unity, love, and light. And I will see you on our next video. Have an amazing day, and I will talk to you all soon. Okay?